don't know what it is, what kind of a person it requires. Someone with a lot of grit, I think. I mean, we're meant to look so delicate and graceful, but deep down, I think we're super gritty. We've got exceptional drive to a fault, you know, like masochistic, kind of ignoring pain and doing it at all costs. And unfortunately, that's often sort of like, that's the formula that will get you to the successful place. I don't know if that paints us in a very good light. I started when I was 5. I started with tap. My 2 older sisters were already in dance. And I don't know if it was just one of those natural, I want to follow what my older sisters do, or if it was really more the essence of tap that was super interesting to me. The fact that you could make noises like that with your feet. And it wasn't until I was about 15 that teachers started pointing out that I should probably go further with it and focus on ballet and audition for professional schools. And I was pretty hesitant, actually. I didn't want to, I don't know if I knew that that was a difficult choice. I didn't know already subconsciously. I was like, that's gonna be a hard life.
And rush through, pas de bourrée, même chose en dedans.
Me and my sister used to dance nonstop in the living room and drive my mother crazy putting on performances. So she said to my dad one day, okay, I know it's expensive, but we have to get these girls into dance. She started us at a school, just a local school, and we took ballet, jazz, tap dancing, like the whole thing. And 11, 12, I started to feel like, okay, this is really what I want to do with my life.
I was taken to a Nutcracker, actually, in Ottawa. I remember this so well. I remember the entrance of the theater with all the lights, just getting in the theater and being, I think I was a bit older than maybe 5, and I was so impressed with all the shimmer of everything. And yeah, I think I really got hooked at a really young age, and my parents took me to a lot of theater stuff when I was young, even like the ice capades back then and stuff like that.
Well, my mom was a dancer, and my mom went to ballet school, and it was my mom's dream. So she actually opened a ballet school when they came to Canada. So I would have been about 3 or 4 when she started teaching. So naturally, I just took classes. And I have to be honest, I don't think there was a moment, because it was just always part of my life. I just did it. I took class. And it was probably around when I was 8 that I started enjoying it, and I would find myself in front of the mirror and I'd be making postures or poses and listening to the music and just really falling in love with the music and moving. But there wasn't a moment for me.
I didn't want to do ballet. I never really wanted to do ballet. I always loved dancing. But I went into theater. I did like little jazz classes here and there, but I come from a small town, so nothing really stayed open. My sister wanted to be a ballet dancer. I thought I would want to be a singer, actually. And then when I thought about dance, I thought more like tap dancing and something more like moving. Ballet I always thought was going to be a little bit boring. And so I actually didn't start taking ballet until I was 13, which was, I was told I was quite late. So there's always this sense of like trying to catch up to my age group. And then once you got there, then you go somewhere else, and then you have to catch up again. So it's always this feeling of running to catch up to where I needed to be. But yeah, I didn't know really, probably until I was 17, that I wanted to be a good dancer.
Basically, I was taking ballet lessons at night, and things were going well. I was also put in a class with older students, and then there was these other girls that were going for an audition for l'École Supérieure in Montreal. And my mother heard about it and thought, oh, you know, like, are you interested in this? And I was like, oh, yes, you know, I want to do the audition, and can we? And so I did the audition. We came to Montreal to do the audition, and I remember it was a big deal. They check your body, you do class, like, you know, it's extensive. It's not just one ballet class. They check your flexibility, your turnout, all of that. And I remember being really nervous and really hoping that I would get it. And that's when we made the move to Montreal so that I could go to professional ballet school, mixing with my high school studies.
When I was 10, I did a summer school. I did an audition for the Royal Winnipeg Ballet Summer School. And my mom thought it would just be a good experience for me, but I actually got accepted, and I got accepted into the summer school. I went for 5 weeks, and it was a big deal. And I actually got accepted into the full-time program for the year, but my mom thought I was a little bit young at 10 to leave home. So then the following year, I went to National Ballet School of Canada.
Why I think I wanted to become a dancer was a show that I saw, and also my teacher that I had that year, Mr. Sellier. He was amazing, and I think he made me love classical dance. Like, I didn't really love it before. It was always like, it was very much about like performing and having fun, and I was like, yeah, that's not abusive, that's actually really great. So it was that, and seeing Les Grandes perform, which they performed Axioma 7, which was by Ohad Naharin, and I was like, I want to do that.
I was just knew I had to do it. Just knew I had to try. And my parents were very supportive because it was very different from anything they have ever done. My mom's a nurse, my dad's an engineer. It's just very different. They were very supportive.
I think at that point, I was pretty confident that this is what I was going for. And I feel that I was also really lucky to be auditioning with such a wonderful group of other ladies. There were probably boys, but I don't remember many, to be honest. I think we were mostly a girls group auditioning. And we all got along really well. There was a lot of camaraderie. There was a lot of laughs. And maybe that was helpful, that we all shared this really fun energy.
I think it wasn't my choice to start dance, but it was purely my love and passion for it, and the joy it brings me, and the joy I get from bringing the same beauty to others that kept me in this school.
When I tried to make those choices to follow the traditional path or the one projected by society, it just didn't resonate with me. I didn't feel like that's what I should be doing, that's what I wanted to be doing. So being open and listening to my heart and dance is calling is the reason why I'm still here and pursuing it professionally. So one of the best things that's happened to me, being open.
Despite that we were really well surrounded by friends and there was a camaraderie, there was still this sense of competition, and that follows through into working in a company where you're all competing with your best friends for the role. There's only one principal role and 20 people can't get it, so there's always this underlying thing. That's hard. That's really hard. Big schools like this are not available in every city, so parents will send their children far away. Not being close to your family, not having that sort of nurturing hearth around you. And being at that age where everything is questionable. You have no idea who you are. Your body is fluctuating in all different directions, and yet you still want to find yourself in that like really thin sort of like expectation of 0 body fat, which is not realistic at all, ever.
We were in a rehearsal for Don Quixote, and it was the entire school, the entire company, and the head honcho's up in the looking down from the gallery, the window, and the ballet mistress who was running the rehearsal said to me in front of everyone, she said, "Sarah, I will put you in front, but you must lose weight," in front of the entire school, the entire company. That was quite the moment, and I think that was the shift too, where I realized Winnipeg wasn't where I was gonna land.
If you had, the discipline and the organizational skills, and you could really focus and apply yourself daily and work really hard, you would start to see the payoff. And then the teachers would notice you and give you more correction because they could see you were working really hard. And so it's sort of this reciprocal process.
I was told that my feet weren't good enough and I had a difficult pelvis. Now, being a Pilates instructor, I understand what that difficult pelvis thing is about. But at the time, I was heartbroken, and they said that I showed a lot of promise in contemporary. And that just broke my heart because I love the classics. So I decided to audition for l'école because Les Grands Ballets Canadiens is much more modern ballet, and there were different body shapes, body sizes. There wasn't just a form of corps de ballet, which was all same height, same aesthetic. So I felt like I could maybe make it there.
I was very diligent about doing my Pilates exercises through my training years, so I didn't suffer injuries per se. I was very fortunate, but my health suffered. The perfection of being so thin and so lean, and we didn't have the information we have now on science, and nutrition and all of those things. I mean, it was just so archaic, the information and how we fed our bodies or didn't feed our bodies.
This was the other part of it, is that I was already injured. So at Winnipeg, I had been jumping and I hurt my foot, and I had a cortisone shot, and that kept me dancing. And then 6 months later, now I'm at Montreal, and I had another cortisone shot, and that kept me dancing. And then the last one didn't work, so I could barely walk. And that was the moment where I had to make a decision what to do. Yeah, so that is when I kind of flew home.
Was there a relief to you?
No.
I think I was my harshest critic, and I'm a perfectionist. And to have that level of perfection in the dance world is unrealistic and unattainable. And the more I would strive for the perfection, the less happy I was. So I really was my biggest enemy, because I could see that in my eyes, I wasn't as good as some of the competition. And so that really was like a head game for me, that I was like, well, I'm not the best. I'm here. This is, the lane I'm gonna have to stay in. These are the jobs I'm gonna have to go for. So the reality started creeping in a little bit of my limitations, and I was very aware of my limitations.
It was like someone died. And I completely lost my purpose. and didn't know who I was. If I wasn't Sarah the dancer, I had no idea who I was. And it turned out that my foot was actually had a fracture. And in my first metatarsal. And so then I ended up having surgery, and I did not really leave the house for probably 6 months.
Through my fear of disappointing myself and not attaining a certain level, it was almost started this little bit of self-destructive behavior within myself. So I didn't look after myself. My health wasn't good. And then the more I thought, oh, I'm not looking after myself, I'm not doing good, I'm not at the highest level in my class, the more the fear would set in. Oh, here you go, you're actualizing your fear. So it's just one of these self-perpetuating cycles of, it's not good, but yet you're going down that road anyways. And that was my biggest fear. And I almost actualized my fear because I didn't look after myself to the point where I got awarded Aurora in the second year of the spectacle in Montreal, and Charmaine was working with me, and to the point where I just was like imploded on myself. I couldn't handle it, and I left, and I never performed the role.
I knew that I wasn't going to have a career, and I had no idea what I was going to do.
Not only do you stop dancing, but you lose all your friends because it's too hard to watch them dance and you not dance. I always loved them. I just didn't. It was just too hard. It's like it's like you're trying to save yourself and you have to throw yourself a life raft and go away. It's really that kind of dramatic. It's like, and it was the only way I knew how to survive. I didn't feel I could maintain all those friendships where they were in the world or had the mentality of dancers. I had to be around people who didn't think like dancers, didn't want to be like dancers. That was part of that was how I healed. That was how I coped.
I think I always knew it was limited because I was highly aware of the injury that I was hiding. So there was always just on the fence, could just fall either way. So there was that fear all the time. And failing my parents, because it was a hardship to send me to this fancy schools and training, and so I always kind of felt guilty that I didn't make it. So there's that. I wanted Dad and Mom to be proud of me. Thinking back, I would say that I didn't even really like myself, like who I was then. To be an artist, you have to be so self-absorbed and so about you because it's your art and it's the only thing that matters at the time, and you don't see the rest of the world, which is really narcissistic.
It was really hard to leave that world when I didn't know literally anything else. All I'd ever done was go to ballet school or dance. I didn't know what the real world was like. I had no clue.
I thought to myself, if I could do ballet, I could do anything because nothing will ever be that hard. Now, looking back, there's lots of hard stuff. It's not the truth. There's lots of hard stuff to go through. I consider it sort of going through a death, Sarah the dancer. So it was a grieving of a death. So that builds character.
I'm still shaking off certain things, I think, things that stay with you, body issues. I think they're so deeply ingrained. And whether or not they're really spoken about, you really feel it. Sometimes we would see it spread like wildfire, someone would get exceptionally thin and then whoop, the whole class would lose 5 pounds each. Yeah, and you'd be like, whoa, nobody said everyone lose this much weight. And it's this unspoken thing, It's this like drive through osmosis. Yeah, she's doing that. Ooh, how am I gonna get there? How am I gonna do those triple pirouettes? For a long time, you just feel like you're a circle trying to fit into a square hole or vice versa. And you're just trying to make it work. You're trying to be like that girl over there, and it's so easy for her. Or you think it's so easy, it's probably not, And you're always aspiring to something more, something better.
When you get your first job, it's not like, I made it, like now it's set, everything's great. It's almost like still every day is a little bit on the line. Like it's not a security that your job is there. Like if the director starts seeing things he doesn't like, then what happens? Am I going to lose my job? Or like when choreographers come in, you might not get that role. And so it's like you're always a little bit, can't really relax. like now I've made it. I left because of an injury. I have had 2 surgeries. I had knee surgery, and then I came back, and then I had shoulder dislocating all the time. So I thought maybe I'll just take a break. I need a break because it was very frustrating to be like getting ready for a show and then. So I took a break, and then I had my first baby, and so then the break kind of continued, and I had surgery, and I couldn't think about leaving my kids at that time. So I thought it was over, really, that my time was over in the dance world. Maybe that's why it hit me much later that, right, I'm retired, like, at 30, like.
I met with a friend. She is a psychologist, psychotherapist, I'm not sure exactly, but she works especially with eating disorders and the mental issues that are connected to that. And she said, do you realize, you went through this. She's like, it's not normal. It's not a normal way for teenagers to sort of grow up. And I was like, well, it was normal for me. So it seemed, because that was my reality. But she's like, but it's not, on many levels. Just in the type of space you're in. You're looking in mirrors all the time. There's this emphasis on perfection in the way how you've done your bun, how you present yourself. You don't speak most of the day. You're spoken to and you're following directions, or you're not speaking, you're not actually communicating verbally. And she's like, when you walk into a high school and you just look at regular teenagers, she's like, it's so different. She's like, I don't know if you realize that. And I was like, oh, I guess I didn't. I guess I didn't, even though I did go to high school. Already at that point, my life was so much about excelling and about dance and about being obedient. That's just sort of an innate quality. I don't know if it's always a quality, but that's an innate characteristic that I have, is being obedient and following directions.
Once you move every day for 8 hours for 7 or 8 years in a row, the idea of sitting still at a desk would be a slow death. We fidget all the time. We're always moving. Even in a like at the coffee shop, a lineup, the music comes on, I'm moving, I'm tapping my toes. To teach movement was logical and evolution. It was I guess, a natural choice of a different career, teaching Pilates and opening a studio. Through the evolution, then I found a new passion.
If I were to stop, it's because life will say it's time, and I'll know that it's time. But right now I feel this pull that it's not. There are still many more things to experience as a dancer. And when I dance with Margie, it's very inspirational. She's 68, and she's still dancing. I think that's just wonderful. And when you watch her, you literally can't take your eyes off of her. It's so magnetic. She so embodies what she's doing. She's so present. And that to me is worth more than just someone with a perfect arabesque.
I was going to become a dancer to be happy, live my passion, and travel the world. That was my thing. And I already had an idea of what I wanted to do, or certain companies that I was interested in, so I went for that. There was an audition in Montreal for a director called Franco Dragone that I didn't really know at the time. And so basically this audition was for the Celine Dion show A New Day in Las Vegas. And that really changed everything. I'm so happy that happened, actually. Like my years in Vegas, I was also extremely well paid as an artist. And I think that's something too that dancers in general should realize, the value of what it is that we are providing is important.
It's turning less and less traditional, which I think is a good thing, because there will be less dancers in hospitals from anorexia or eating disorders. I think the mental health will be constantly improving. They've turned out to be more kinder, more caring teachers, but at the same time, still pushing us to work hard, and I think that's the perfect combination.
An important thing to keep in mind when you're auditioning is that you're auditioning for different companies, and there's one artistic director or one person at the head that will decide if they like you or not. Regardless if it's a go or not a go, I think it's important to always remember that we have a place, and I think that's something that helped me too. I knew that I had a place somewhere, and I knew that I would find this person that would understand what it was that I have to offer, and I think it's important to remember that.
I had a couple transcendental moments on the stage in my life, and that was actually what hooked me on surfing. Because the first time I got up on the board and I was riding, it's pure flow. And sort of time and space collide, and you're not even sure what happened. And so those moments on the stage, I didn't have as many moments as some of the other girls, but I do remember a couple of moments where something happens. And it's like, fairy dust comes down. And that's how it felt on the surfboard. I felt like, oh wow, I haven't felt like this since I was on stage.
I always felt like things happen for a reason, which is difficult to feel when lots of bad things might be happening. Like if you get injured, I had a lot of those bumps in my career. But when I see where I started and where I am now, it's kind of bizarre. It's like, oh, I think that was supposed to happen. I was supposed to be there at that time.
I find it more interesting to work with the regular person injuries and empower people to take care of their bodies and to get out of pain. So that's what brought me to Pilates, also because it was part of the reason why I got better.
It's total pinch me moments. Just recently, even it's a pandemic, and there were so many dance artists who didn't have work at all. And I found myself in a position as a ballet mistress with one of the leading companies here in Montreal, and I was sitting there with people in a studio, collaborating, people making art, and I was like, what am I doing here? I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how blessed I was.
To be a teacher feels great, because I feel like I wish I knew some of these things when I was like young and like in these walls that can be so wonderful and supportive, but also you're so confronted with being perfect all the time that some of these other techniques and not being in front of the mirror, and I think that's really kind of nice.
And it's nice to be surrounded by so many people who have the same interests as you, who are working for the same goal. It's like there's a deeper, we really understand each other when there's a problem. We've got like a deeper connection.
We understand our pain, we understand our joy,
Oh, my feet hurt today. Same, man. Like,
The lesson I learned was it's good to strive and be really driven, because if you can take what you learn at ballet school, that day in and that attention to detail and showing up on time and having your dance bag and your pointe shoes sewn, if you do that 98% of the time, that's half the battle. So it's just like in business, if you show up and the doors are open at the right time and the lights are right and you deliver a product and people are happy, that's the key to success in business. So I learned a lot about how to succeed.
I've transitioned off stage. I do workshops, I create shows, I conceptualize for events. I was recently the assistant artistic director for Amaluna, a touring show with Cirque du Soleil. I still dance. I don't need to dance as much as I did before nightly shows, it's okay, but for my soul, I still have a little bit of time reserved for that.
And Nick Bissonnette, the artistic director of the school, she asked me if I could set some of Ohad's work that I had danced when I was with Les Grandes on the students for a summer session. And I was like, it was amazing. It was so fun to revisit those things that I love dancing and then to like teach it to these up and coming. And they were so like into it, and it was so much fun that I was like, I miss this, I really wish I had it when I was a student. I really wish I had it for all of those things, like letting go and opening up and going beyond. Often you feel quite vulnerable to just let yourself try something or to move or to explode. And when you put yourself in those places, though, you tend to go beyond, and that's something we want to do. We want to try to go beyond what we feel is our comfort zone. But I think it is something that you can also feel just in life. You can feel it riding a bus, you can feel it walking, how you feel in your body, like how things move inside you, how things flow. And that can be like from the studio to just your everyday.
If everything were easy, then I don't think that I would actually evolve or grow or see things differently. It's when you hit that wall and then you try to find that way to break it down, that, whoa, that's when all of the new stuff pours in. Yeah, that's where we feel so fed by life.
I didn't realize how much I missed performing. I knew I needed to do something physical, but artistic and performing, and I think that's where Gaga really fits in, because I know that my body is broken. So I feel like I can't perform right now. Like I know that those days are over and I can happily let them go now, but at the time, no. I took my first Gaga class here in these studios, and then to teach my first Gaga class here is such a full circle feeling.
Looking back, oh my gosh, I didn't really like myself back then as far as being so narcissistic, and it wasn't really me. And also, I never want to do anything that hurts my body ever again. It's just become my purpose to help other people with their bodies.
I gave back teaching and helping people with my Pilates business and teaching dance and helping students grow. But I did feel a certain sense of the freedom of not having to be under the microscope or under eyes all the time, like eyes looking at me all the time, whether it's the teacher's eyes, the other dancer's eyes, always, comparing, the audience's eyes. There's a lot of visual, and I'm quite an extrovert, so how I really recharge is being alone and thinking, and maybe that's why surfing is so powerful, because I'm on that wave, and maybe some people see me, but it's really just a self-expression with no mirror and no panel of judges. But I see someone who has grown, and I'm very proud of the person I've grown into.
The school, the art form in general made me bloom really into the woman I am today, and for me it was an overall very positive experience, and I don't ever want to part with dance. Of course now I'm dancing a bit less, but it will always be part of something that I do. I'm seeing this, hopefully I live until 100, a centenarian, and I'm going to be 80 and still finding ways to move my body. It's just something that I need for my soul.
I just feel so grateful to be like dancing and working, because it's such an amazing experience to perform and to be part of the arts, and the arts are so important. It's like my love for performing and the joy just overtakes me. I feel so, I don't know, it's you'd think that I'd be really, really terrified in front of so many people, but I just feel really privileged to be part of this amazing giving experience. We need beauty in our lives.
I think I was exactly where I needed to be, and for the next 25 years I can only hope that it keeps going in that direction.
The audience is most definitely a big part of the work we do, because we are performers. We create entertainment and art for people, but I also dance for myself, so it's a little bit of both. I really want to make an impact and give something to the audience and have them respond, but if that engagement is not there, it's not wasted. I always get that sense of fulfillment from doing it for myself too.
It feels good because the intentions are good. So I think when you go into something with the right energy, and it's all about positivity and giving back and sharing with the world our journeys, if it does feel like a sense of pride.
If I can be a beacon to my daughters that I'm living what I love to do, and that I'm passionate about what I do, and that I've followed that dream, then that's also there in the balance, And that I want for them more than anything to find something that really drives them, that they really will love doing, and that they could work well into 80 years old because it doesn't feel like work, And then I think it brings it back to the question, was like, did I ever think I could make money off of this? No, but I feel like I have a duty and a responsibility to continue making this art form thrive and evolve and to bring it to people. I feel like that propels me more than the sense of, well, I'm going to make a lot of money off of it. I already know that it's not going to, actually. But how can I make people's lives better?